What is the craziest or scariest thing you've ever experienced as an anthropologist? I'm Dr. Julia Gamble. I'm assistant professor in the Department of Anthropology. I'm currently associate head and undergraduate program chair. I've never had to do anything like Indiana Jones. The craziest thing that I have had to do is probably carry a bunch of medieval Danish teeth through customs in Denmark. And it's a little bit more, nerve-wracking than it always ends up being. It's usually been really good. I always have documentation, and it's never been a problem. But it's always kind of scary because you don't want them confiscated or mixed up. I always make sure I've got lots of pictures, so if somebody did mix them up, I could reassociate them. It's always a little bit nerve-wracking. How is anthropology important in our daily lives? Why should people care about anthropology? Anthropology as a broad field is very holistic. We study people and every aspect of humanity, past and present. And I think that that is incredibly important to our daily lives. Whether you're going to be going into a field that's anthropology related or something more broadly, anthropology teaches you to appreciate humans and appreciate diversity. And I think that that's incredibly valuable no matter where you go and where you are. Why did you get into anthropology, or when did you learn about anthropology? So I learned about anthropology actually when I was a kid, and I used to find things in my backyard and take them to the museum, and I joined Young Archaeologist Club. So I got into anthropology really early, and then through undergrad, which was an amazing experience. I actually went to the University of Winnipeg and had amazing professors and amazing fellow students to learn with, and that really inspired me to continue. What research am I currently doing? So I am currently doing work on dental stress and patterns of health in two medieval populations, one in Denmark and one earlier medieval in Austria. So both are ongoing projects. As part of the Danish one, I'm doing some ancient DNA work with pathogen DNA, collaborating with researchers across multiple institutions, including McMaster, and a broader sphere that includes Chicago. So it's pretty multifaceted research. How does my research impact people? Well, I look at patterns of stress and health in the past and try to understand that in terms of a longitudinal pattern, which can be hard to look at in modern populations because people are really long-lived, so it's hard to follow somebody over the course of their whole lives. And I kind of do that by looking at early forming teeth in relation to skeletal health. So I think that this adds another element and a way of looking at human response to stress, and that we can't necessarily get at that way in modern populations. And the plague research is really interesting because it's looking at a disease that had a huge impact on medieval populations. And we're just coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has had a very different pattern, but understanding the diseases in the past and how they affected people in the past and continue to shape world populations can add context to what we're kind of dealing with today, I think. Cats or dogs? I'm not sure that I want to choose. I have a cat and I have a dog. I love them both. I really love all animals, and they each have their strengths and weaknesses. So I don't think I can choose. What is your favorite movie and why? So this one's tough. Again, I'm not very good at choosing. So people who know me know that I don't make choices very well. And favorite movies, I really kind of am old-fashioned in my movie taste. I like musicals, I like classical movies, and I think one of my favorites is Sound of Music, because I love the music and I love the story. Another one is I think it's the 1995 Little Women, because I love the story as well, and I love kind of the lead character, Jo, is a very different woman for her time, and I kind of like the story around that. So I'd say those are two of my favorite, but I love a whole bunch of movies. So if you could teach a class on any topic, what would you teach? So this one is challenging because I've taught quite a few different classes in my career, both at the University of Toronto and here. So it's hard for me to really think of something different that I would like to teach. But one class that I've taught and would like to do again, if I kind of could think of the best case scenario, would be paleopathology, looking at past diseases, in a context where I might actually have a lot of skeletal remains that I could work with students through, so that students could get a lot of hands-on experience. So I think that would be really, really interesting class to be able to teach. And we're working on improving our collections, including 3D models. We've got a 3D print going on right now at the University of Manitoba. So that will hopefully be possible more in the future. Okay. What is your favorite discovery, either yours or someone else's? So I feel like the recent Nature publication, our finding of very pronounced natural selection in response to Black Death, with a whole collaborative team, was pretty important, because it really shows that that selective event still influences people's health today in relation to autoimmune diseases, for example. So I think that is one of my favorites, but I also think of in my undergrad when Homo floresiensis was discovered, and that was groundbreaking at that time and really, really exciting. And there have been a whole bunch of other discoveries in between and before then, so it's hard to put my finger on a single discovery. You see the trend of me not being able to make choices, huh? Okay. If you could go back in time, what population would you love to live among to learn more about? So while I study sort of later medieval Denmark, I would be and would be interested in kind of seeing a little bit more how they were actually experiencing that drastic shift post Black Death. I think I would be more interested in diving completely over to another area and looking a little bit more at classical Greek populations. It's not one that I've been able to study extensively, but I did do a field school in Greece a number of years ago, and they've always interested me. And if I were to be able to choose and go back and experience the time, I think that would probably be it. And any final comments or thoughts? So the only thing that I'll say to any students who are watching this podcast and interested in anthropology, people often ask about careers in anthropology. There are definitely careers that are directly related to anthropology, but anthropology also prepares you for careers that you might never imagine. And I would suggest that if you're just getting into kind of your academic experience or trying to think about the routes forward, to come and talk to your profs, because they usually are quite happy to chat with you, and it's really good to kind of make those connections and learn about routes and possibilities and the world kind of opening up in front of you.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for allowing the students to get to know you.
Thank you very much for doing this, Sinead.